Today, we're retaking a deep dive into the fascinating history of a country that blends ancient tradition with futuristic innovation like no other. Japan. From samurai warriors to bustling modern cities, Japan's story is an epic tale of islands, emperors, and incredible transformation. So, grab your popcorn and let's journey back in time. Our story begins way back, around 30,000 BC, during the Paleolithic period. Early humans crossed over to the Japanese archipelago, which was then connected to the Asian mainland. They were hunter-gatherers, living off the land. But things really start to get interesting around 10,000 BC with the Jōmon period. The name Jōmon means cord-marked, which refers to the unique patterns on their pottery. These weren't just simple pots. They are some of the oldest examples of pottery in the world. The Jōmon people were skilled hunters and fishers, and they developed a surprisingly complex culture that lasted for thousands of years. Next up, around 300 BC, we enter the Yayoi period. This was a time of massive change. New people arrived from the mainland, bringing with them revolutionary technologies like wetterous farming and bronze and iron tools. This agricultural revolution meant people could settle down, grow more food, and villages started to pop up all over the place. Society became more structured, and the first signs of a unified state began to emerge. This period laid the groundwork for the Japan we know today. Fast forward a few centuries to the Kofun period, from about 250 to 538 AD. Kofun are these massive keyhole-shaped burial mounds built for the ruling class. Some are so huge, they rival the pyramids of Egypt in scale. This tells us that a powerful and centralized government was forming, likely centered in the Yamato region. It was during this time that the Yamato clan rose to prominence, establishing a line of emperors that, believe it or not, continues to this day, making it the longest-reigning monarchy in the world. This era also saw the introduction of Buddhism and the Chinese writing system, which would have a profound impact on Japanese culture and society. Now, let's talk about the Asuka period, which started in 538. This is when Buddhism really took off, not just as a religion but as a major cultural force. Prince Shotoku, a key figure from this time, was a huge proponent of Buddhism and Chinese culture. He established a new constitution, promoted a centralized government modeled after China's, and sent missions to the mainland to absorb all that knowledge. This cultural exchange was a two-way street, but Japan was incredibly adept at taking foreign ideas and making them uniquely Japanese. This leads us to the Nara period in 710, when Japan's first permanent capital was established in Nara, modeled after the Chinese Temps dynasty's capital. It was a grand city and a center of political and religious power. Huge Buddhist temples were built, like the famous Tadaigi, which houses a giant bronze Buddha statue. The government also commissioned the first official histories of Japan, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, to legitimize the emperor's rule and create a national identity. But capitals change, and in 794, the court moved to Heian-kyō, which we now know as Kyoto. This marked the beginning of the Heian period, a golden age of Japanese art and literature. While the emperors were still the symbolic heads of state, real power shifted to the Fujiwara clan, who ruled as regents. The court culture was incredibly refined and aristocratic. This is the era that gave us the tale of Genji, often called the world's first novel. Written by a court lady named Murasaki, it gives us an amazing glimpse into the elegant, poetic, and sometimes dramatic life at the Heian court. However, while the aristocrats in Kyoto were writing poetry, something else was brewing in the powerful regional clans were building up their own private armies of skilled warriors, the samurai. This brings us to one of the most famous eras in Japanese history, the Age of the Samurai. By the late 12th century, two powerful warrior clans, the Taira and the Min, fought for control in the Genpei War. The Minamoto clan won, and their leader, Minamoto no Yoritomo, established a new military government in Kamakura. This was the start of the Kamakura shogunate in 1185. For the next 700 years, Japan would be ruled by shoguns or military dictators. While the emperor remained a symbolic figurehead in Kyoto, the samurai lived by a strict code of conduct known as Bushido, the way of the warrior, which emphasized loyalty, honor, and martial skill. This era also saw two Mongol invasion attempts in the 13th century. Both times, the Mongol fleets were devastated by massive typhoons, which the Japanese called kamikaze, or divine winds, believing they were sent by the gods to protect Japan. After the Kamakura period came the Muromachi period, but this was a time of great instability. The shogun's power weakened, and regional lords, known as daimyo, grew stronger, fighting amongst themselves for land and power. This chaos culminated in the Sengoku period, or the Warring States period, from the mid-15th to the early 17th century. It was a brutal time of constant civil war. But it was also an era of legendary figures. Three great unifiers emerged from this chaos. First was Oda Nobunaga, a ruthless but brilliant daimyo who used new tactics and firearms introduced by Portuguese traders to conquer nearly a third of Japan. After he was assassinated, his top general Toitome Hideyoshi, a man of humble origins, continued the mission and unified the entire country. After Hideyoshi's death, another powerful daimyo, Tokugawa Ieyasu, seized power after the decisive Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. In 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu became shogun and established the Tokugawa shogunate, which would rule for over 250 years, from the new capital of Edo modern day. This marked the beginning of the Edo period, a long era of peace and stability. To prevent another civil war, the Tokugawa shoguns implemented a policy of sakoku, or national seclusion. They kicked out most foreigners, banned Christianity, and forbade Japanese people from leaving the country. This isolation allowed a unique Japanese culture to flourish. Kabuki theater, ukiyo-e, woodblock prints, and the art of the geisha all blossomed during this peaceful time. Cities grew, commerce thrived, and Japan enjoyed a period of internal development. But this isolation couldn't last forever. In 1853, American Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with a fleet of powerful black ships and demanded that Japan open its doors to trade. This event sent shockwaves through the country. Faced with superior Western military technology, the Tokugawa shogunate was forced to sign unequal treaties, which many saw as a national humiliation. This sparked widespread anti-shogunate sentiment. In 1868, a group of reform-minded samurai from the southern domains overthrew the shogunate and restored the emperor to power in what is known as the Meiji Restoration. The young Emperor Meiji moved to Edo, renamed it Tokyo, and a whirlwind of change began. The new Meiji government's motto was, enrich the country, strengthen the military. They realized that to avoid being colonized, Japan had to modernize him fast. They sent missions to Europe and the United States to study everything from government and industry to education and military strategy. Feudalism was abolished, a modern army was created, and a new constitution was written. In just a few decades, Japan transformed from a secluded feudal society into a modern, industrialized nation. This rapid modernization was incredible, but it also fueled a new sense of nationalism and imperial ambition. Japan built up its military and began to expand its influence, leading to wars with China and Russia at the turn of the 20th century. This expansionist path continued into the 20th century. During the Taisho period, there was a brief flirtation with more liberal and democratic ideas, but the rise of militarism in the Showa period, under Emperor Hirohito, put an end to that. In the 1930s and 40s, the military gained almost complete control of the government, pushing Japan into a wider conflict, invading Manchuria and then China, and eventually leading to the attack on Pearl Harbor and Japan's entry into World War II. The war ended in 1945, with the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Japan's unconditional surrender. The post-war period was a time of immense hardship, but also incredible resilience. Under the Allied occupation, led by the United States, Japan was demilitarized and democratized. A new constitution was enacted, renouncing war and establishing a parliamentary democracy. The emperor became a purely symbolic figure. With help from the US and the sheer hard work of its people, Japan experienced an economic miracle. From the ashes of war, it rebuilt itself to become the world's second-largest economy by the 1960s, known for its heat quality, electronics, and automobiles. And that brings us to the Japan of today, a country that stands as a global leader in technology and culture while still cherishing its ancient traditions. From the serene temples of Kyoto to the neon-lit streets of Tokyo, the story of Japan is a powerful testament to its ability to adapt, innovate, and endure. It's a history filled with drama, beauty, an incredible change. Thanks so much for watching this journey through Japanese history. I know it was a lot to cover, but I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what part of Japanese history you'd like to learn more about. See you in the next one.